What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check updates, the two packages that they're voting on. This is voting week. Part one, a physical infrastructure package, which is $1.2 trillion, which has a deal between the Republicans and the Democrats that they are already in the voting process. Remember, there is multiple stages of voting. They have already passed two parts of the voting right now. They're in the amendment stage of the voting right now. And I'm going to be going over the latest details on that and also what is going on in Washington, D.C. Multiple different updates. Things are literally changing by the moment, as well as what comes next, which is the big cheese, the big enchilada. Part two, the next stimulus package, which is $3.5 trillion, which is almost twice the size of the third stimulus check package, which was only $1.9 trillion. So yeah, the third stimulus check package was $1.9 trillion. The next stimulus package has been announced at $3.5 trillion. And the Democrats and Chuck Schumer has said that right after they pass part one, the physical infrastructure package, they will then be moving on to part two, the next stimulus package, which has multiple different names: the social infrastructure package, the human infrastructure package, the American Families Plan, the next stimulus package, and it has been announced at $3.5 trillion. It has also been Kirsten Sinema, one of the Democrats, has also said she's not sure about $3.5 trillion. They might need to negotiate down. We also have some news about Senator Joe Manchin and his wife. It's kind of some scandalous news right there. Yeah. As well as we have an announcement from the White House and what they're working on. Literally, news is changing by the moment. We're going to go over a lot into this video and what is going on in Washington, D.C. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. I'm going to keep you up to date with everything going on with the pandemic, with the stimulus, with passing both of these bills, and what's going to come next. There's more stimulus packages coming after this as the Democrats get more reconciliation cards to pass more stimulus packages after that. And yeah, Democrats are literally just going to continue passing more packages after this, as the economic recovery is likely going to take many, many years. The economic recovery took 4 to 5 years from 2008 and 2009, and that was without a virus. And virus cases are literally spiking up really, really bad right now. And on Friday, we had 122,000 new virus cases. And yeah, it's not getting any better. So let's jump right in. Okay, first, let's start with this announcement from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, coming directly from the White House.
From the briefing we just received, it seems like the White House does not want to challenge this in court. The lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers who are unhappy with the response so far, are basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing, don't let Brett Kavanaugh stand in the way of this. Why not take executive action now to direct the CDC and deal with the court later on?
Well, I think what you should have taken from the statement that was put out right before the briefing, and also Gene joining us in the briefing today, is that the president has not given up the option of legal action. He has asked his team to look to kick the tires, just to keep the analogy going, and look at every authority, every option we have to keep more people in their homes. That is his objective. At the same time, he's also focused on the policy options that are at play, whether it's encouraging states to use funding, to get the funding out, to extend the moratorium by 30 days, 60 days in some states that can keep people in their homes, and to see what other policy options we have at our disposal. So we are using every tool we can. We are still kicking looking at legal authorities to see what is possible, but he's not going to take a step without legal authority to do so.
How much more time is he going to kick the tires?
Well, it's clearly a priority to the president, given the extensive statement we put out this afternoon. He was laser focused on this all weekend, I can confirm for you, and has been from the beginning of the administration. I mean, as a reminder, I know Gene touched on this, but he wanted to see an extension in January.
Yeah, so right now, President Biden and the Democrats are struggling with this eviction moratorium, the eviction ban that has ended. They did try to do an emergency vote in the House of Representatives that failed. It was a very last-minute vote. and not a single Republican voted to extend the eviction ban. It was all Democrats that voted for it, but a few Democrats did not vote for it as well. Again, it was not a structured vote. It kind of happened at the last minute. And the problem with this is they could actually pass this in the House of Representatives, but then it would have to go to the Senate. And again, we will not get any Republicans to vote yes on this. Again, this is something that we kind of see that Democrats will vote for this, but Republicans will not. And we're seeing a lot of groups are pressuring President Biden to extend the eviction moratorium. And again, Congress could maybe pass this in the House, but would not be able to pass this in the Senate. Republicans are against this because, again, it's a complex story right here. You got to look at it from a lot of both sides. There's a lot of mom and pops that have, they have a rental property, maybe one rental property, maybe two rental properties. They have a loan on the rental property, and they have a renter in there, and they haven't been able to get any rental income for a year. And there's a renter in there that hasn't paid the rent, and they can't evict them. And I've read many stories that said their rental property is actually in foreclosure, and there's some foreclosure protections there, but it's a very complex issue there. So the Democrats are for extending the eviction moratorium, but Republicans are against that. So it's very unlikely to pass through Congress. Now, what that reporter was actually asking is that President Biden, even though the Supreme Court ruled against, they said that the president cannot no longer extend the eviction moratorium through executive order. This is where we've talked about this on the show before, that the Supreme Court can be very political. Right now, there's 6 Republicans on the Supreme Court and 3 Democrats. And by Republicans and Democrats, I mean that there are 6 Republican presidents appointed judges and 3 Democrat presidents appointed judges. Republican or Democrats, they always appoint people of their own party. So, for example, I think it was former President Trump actually appointed 3 judges. Okay, and they're always going to appoint people of their own party. Again, it's a very political system, believe it or not. And when you appoint a Supreme Court judge, they stay there forever until they pass away, until they die. So right now, there's 9 Supreme Court judges. Normally, it's like a 5-4. You'll see like 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans, or 5 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and they stay there for life. Right now, there happens to be 6 Republicans and 3 Democrats. So a lot of times you would see a 5-4 ruling. Right now, there's 6 Republicans, and the Republican judges happen to just overturn and say that the president can no longer extend the eviction moratorium. Again, Republicans in this particular case also happen to be, again, against extending the eviction moratorium. Again, we just seen this vote happen in the House. Not a single Republican voted for extending the eviction moratorium. Again, you can kind of see Republican versus Democrat. You could see how political views are very different. Okay. Again, I'm not picking sides. I'm not choosing sides. You can just see how Republicans and Democrats see things very differently, right? You can see how the judges see things very differently, and you can see how the House votes. Democrats voted to extend the eviction moratorium. Not all the Democrats, but it was like 95% of them, right? And not a single Republican, voted for it. So you can kind of see how, you basically can see the difference of opinion there. Okay, but what that reporter said is that the president could actually extend the eviction moratorium through executive order, even though the Supreme Court said he can't. The president could do it, and then they could take him to court. So this is an interesting thing, and this is kind of where the legal system comes in. And this is where it gets very interesting here. Former President Trump, if we go back to last year, remember when he did that presidential executive order for the checks for the unemployment? He just issued, some people consider them stimulus checks, some people don't. He issued that presidential executive order for the $300 per week unemployment boost. Okay, we were waiting for the second stimulus check. Some people said, "Oh, the second stimulus check will never happen." You know, you always get those people. Another stimulus check will never happen. People said that about the second stimulus check, and then boom, we got a second stimulus check. Then people said a third stimulus check will never happen. And then boom, we got a third stimulus check. And now people say a fourth stimulus check will never happen. And then we'll probably get a fourth stimulus check. And then people say a fifth stimulus check will probably never happen. And you never know. I mean, the way the pandemic is going, at this rate, my wife thinks that the virus will never end. I mean, that this virus will never go away. I mean, let's hope that doesn't happen. But I mean, the way cases are going, who knows, right? So at this point, all the naysayers for stimulus checks 2 and 3 have all been wrong. And if Bernie Sanders and Pramila Jayapal and all these Democrats have anything to say about it, there'll be another stimulus check in this next packet. But former President Donald Trump did that presidential executive order to basically include $300 weekly checks for unemployed people through executive order. He literally said, I'm going to do an executive order and send out $300 weekly checks for unemployed people. Okay. There basically were stimulus checks. Okay. He basically said, if you're unemployed, I'm going to send you out weekly bonus checks for unemployed people. Okay. They were unemployed bonus checks. There was no unemployed bonus at that moment. He could have did stimulus checks to everybody. He just chose to do $300 per week unemployment bonus checks, okay? And they were for 6 weeks, and they were $300, and they basically came out of the disaster relief fund. That's why at the moment I said, wow, if he could do this, he really could do stimulus checks. But he didn't end up doing an executive order for additional checks. Now, the Democrats at the time said, we don't even know if this is legal. But here's what I was saying at the time on the channel. I said, well, here's the problem with the Democrats' position. Because again, I'm not from Democrats or Republicans, so I just tell it how it is, whether I think who's right or who's wrong. I said, here's the problem with the Democrats' position. If they challenge well, at the time he was president, so I can't say former President Trump. If they challenge current President Trump, because he was the president at the time, if they challenge President Trump, who's giving literally millions of people checks through this presidential executive order, they're going to look like total a-holes. Can I say that on YouTube? Is that politically correct? Again, I'm not choosing sides here, right? He happened to be the president at the time. He did a presidential executive order and literally gave checks. I consider them stimulus checks because they were literally stimulus. They were literally just giving people checks who were unemployed, who lost their jobs for 6 weeks. So he literally, at the stroke of a pen, did an executive order for 6 weeks. Anybody who was unemployed got $300 per week checks, $1,800 for 6 weeks, 300, 300, 300, 300 for 6 weeks, executive order. Boom. And the Democrats were like, we don't even know if this is legal. But here's the thing is you would have had to challenge him in court of law. And the Democrats were like, wait. If we challenge him in the court of law for giving people checks, stimulus checks or unemployment checks, whatever you want to call them, we're going to look like total a-holes or D-bags or really, really mean people, whatever you want to call us, right? So, yeah, I don't think that we're going to do that because we will lose the next election. This was before the election. So, if we challenged him in the court of law, we're going to lose the next election. So, he actually probably did a really smart move by doing that executive order. I actually think it would have been a smarter move to just do an executive order for stimulus checks for everybody. He chose to do an executive order just for unemployed people. Now, I don't know the reason behind that, if it was because maybe there was only enough money to do it for just the unemployed people. He did that money with the disaster relief fund. Maybe there was only enough. Who knows the reasoning behind this, right? Again, I'm not choosing sides. Now the Democrats are in control. But here's the kind of precedence, right? So if he did that, the Democrats didn't challenge it. Current President Biden could actually do the same type of thing. Well, right now, he could do the same type of thing with the eviction moratorium is one, the Republicans or the Supreme Court would have to sue him or his administration to challenge the eviction moratorium, which would basically, I mean, that could take months. It could take 30 days. It could take 2 months. So he could do an executive order and say, I extend the eviction moratorium. I don't think the Supreme Court's right. And he could basically extend the eviction moratorium for 30 days or 60 days, and they could challenge him in court. And then at the end of the day, they could say, oh, well, I was wrong. But meanwhile, he extended the eviction moratorium. Moral of the story. The other moral of the story is that he actually could do in a presidential executive order for unemployment checks or stimulus checks. Because again, the moral of the story is you can do an executive order because former President Donald Trump did the same thing. That's the whole moral of the story. And even if it's not 100% politically correct, even if it's not, even if you're not supposed to, former President Donald Trump did it. So one, he kind of set the precedence. And number two, the other political party would have to challenge you in the court of law, which makes them look totally, totally bad to disprove it. So if Biden, for example, wanted to just send out stimulus checks to any group of people or everybody, the Republicans would have to challenge it and say, oh no, we don't want stimulus checks to go out. Get where I'm going? So I just want to kind of wrap that up there. That executive orders can go out and actually send out stimulus checks because former President Trump did it. He sent out checks to unemployed people. He could send out checks to everybody or unemployed people, and he could also do it with the eviction moratorium. So the Democrats are still trying to figure out how to extend the eviction moratorium. They literally could extend it this week. They're just literally trying to figure out ways to do it. Also, you know how Senator Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema always happen to be the two Democrats that are kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to vote for this bill unless, you negotiate with me, right? We've said in the past, and again, I'm not from the Democrats, I'm not from the Republicans. I'll call them both out equally, just as much, right? We've even said in the past that, Senator Joe Manchin he maybe needs his palm greased a little bit. Check out this article that's in the news here. In fact, props to Alan Chadwick, one of our viewers, who let me know about this article. Thanks for letting me know about that. Infrastructure bill includes $1 billion, $1 billion with a B, for a commission run by Senator Joe Manchin's wife. Yeah, so a commission run by Senator Joe Manchin's wife is getting $1 billion. Now, this doesn't mean that Senator Joe Manchin's wife is getting $1 billion, but a commission run by his wife is getting $1 billion from the infrastructure bill. What a coincidence, right? What a coincidence. A commission run by the wife of Democratic West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin would receive $1 billion from the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Yeah. His wife, Gail Manchin, co-chairs the Appalachian Regional Commission, an economic development partnership between the federal government and 13 Appalachian states. She works in partnership with the co-chairman from one of the states of the region to lead the commission and was appointed to the post by President Joe Biden and was unanimously confirmed by the Senate in April. The $1 billion distributed over 5 years was originally part of President Biden's American Jobs Plan, infrastructure proposal that was preceded by the bipartisan bill. The program provides grants to communities affected by jobs losses in the coal industry. In a May statement, she said that the $1 billion would help the commission to more adequately meet the overwhelming needs of communities impacted by job losses resulting from the decline in the coal industry. My. Imagine that. And Kirsten Sinema is also very, very, very well known for having a lot of corporate sponsors. Maybe I'll be looking into that here in the next several days. So whenever you hear Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, a lot of these senators and congressmen from both sides, Republicans and Democrats. Don't let these guys fool you. A lot of these guys, and well, by guys I mean guys and women. I'm not picking sides by any means here. Republicans and Democrats. A lot of these people in Congress get very, very rich over their time of being in Congress, and I'm not talking about their $175,000 salary. I'm talking about tens of millions of dollars. In fact, both Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are worth tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars. And they did not get there by their $175,000 a year salary. They got much, much richer than that. By the way, speaking of Mitch McConnell warns the Democrats against an artificial timeline for the infrastructure deal. And he says that the Republicans will need some time for the amendment process that they are working on today. So today they will be working on the amendment process with the Republicans and the Democrats, where they go through amendments between both parties on the infrastructure deal, which former President Donald Trump is shouting from the largest megaphone that he can, saying, "Hey, Republicans, do not vote for this deal. Do not vote for this deal." Nonetheless, Mitch McConnell continues to say that Republicans, we are going to vote for this deal and pass it anyways. So this deal seems to be hanging on by the smallest of small thread, and former President Donald Trump continues to say that he hates Mitch McConnell with every ounce of bone in his body. It will be interesting to see if former President Donald Trump does become the Republican candidate, and Mitch McConnell and former President Donald Trump have any type of working relationship going forward. To see them work together in any capacity would be very interesting to see, because it seems like they literally hate each other. And remember that Mitch McConnell was just reelected to another 6-year term. He's 79 years old. He will be in the Senate till at least he's 85 years old. And if he runs for the Senate again, he would be 91 years old if he won again. Both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi won their reelection campaigns by a landslide. They were not even close. They won by the largest of large margin. Remember, Nancy Pelosi, because she's from the House, senators run 6-year terms, so they only come up for reelection every 6 years. The Senate, only about a third of the senators are up for reelection every 6 years. So every 2 years, about a third of the Senate's up for reelection. But the House of Representatives, the whole House goes up for reelection every 2 years. And Nancy Pelosi wins by a landslide. Every 2 years, she wins by like 80% to 20%. Somehow she just slides on through. Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell win by the largest margins you could ever imagine. So even though they get criticized every year, the largest criticism you could ever imagine, somehow they win by the largest margins you could ever imagine. So that's Congress for you. But here I am every day telling you the truth about both sides. I consider myself a realist, not a Democrat or a Republican. You'll hear the truth from me about both sides, and you'll hear the daily dirt from me either way. But nonetheless, they're voting on the infrastructure package this week. They've already passed two parts of it. The motions to proceed, they're on the amendment parts. Honestly, the amendment parts probably shouldn't take that long, because they've already kind of ironed out the details. They should pass part one, the infrastructure package, this week. Then they will be voting on the initial portions of the stimulus package, the $3.5 trillion package, this week as well. Remember that all 50 Republicans are expected to vote no on that. All 50 Republicans are expected to vote no on the next stimulus package, exactly the same way they did on the last stimulus package. All the Democrats are expected to vote yes on the next stimulus package, the fourth stimulus check package. Even Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are expected to vote yes on this next stimulus package, just like they did the third stimulus check package. They all voted yes, all the Democrats. They will be negotiating. Even Kirsten Sinema says she's not sure about the $3.5 trillion, but she did say that, even she said, and Joe Manchin said, they will be voting yes. They just need to negotiate on the amount and what's going to be in this next package. So I will keep you up to date on all the details of what's going to be in this next package, passing of both these package, what's going on in Washington D.C., and pretty much everything. The pandemic, the virus cases, how long this is going to be, and the next stimulus package coming even after this package. As yeah, Democrats have already said there's going to be more packages after this. They're going to literally keep passing packages up until the next election, which is November 2022, when the House and the Senate go up for re-election. So make sure to subscribe down below. I'll keep you up to date with everything. It's completely free to subscribe. And remember, new videos come out here on our channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember those times. Tune in at those times. Don't miss any videos. You can click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to all notifications to get reminders when we go live with new videos. You can also share this video. There's a share button down below to share this video with your friends and family so that they know about this next stimulus package and what's going to be in there as well. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check package next. Or you can click this video here to watch how I teach people how to sell products on Amazon FBA. You can sell products on Amazon. They have their own program called Amazon FBA. And I have had dozens of students replace their 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon FBA. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.